practice for like meditation or mindfulness, or I don't know, I guess maybe I just kind of want to talk about meditation and mindfulness. I'm not like I'm not like a therapist or anything, so I'm not really in a position or even qualified to be kind of like talking, like advising you or anything like that. But I've been in a lot of therapy and have always had like a lot of anxiety and a lot of need to help myself. So I do feel like I have a lot of practice with mindfulness and meditation, and so I can just talk about my experiences. Um, but first, like, how are you? I hope that you are well. Have you had your meds, or have you had any water or anything to eat today? Because if not, like, definitely go do those things, and I'll wait right here, and we'll all wait for you, and then you can come back, and I bet you'll already start to feel better. So, so yeah, let's wait for a second. Okay, so so if you're back and ready to move on, we can kind of talk about maybe, you know, some ideas for mindfulness and meditation. Like, I guess, I don't even know if that's really what I'm going for. I have like a little bit of an outline here that I wanted to try to follow, but for me, it's like, I feel like there's a lot about mindfulness and meditation that I sometimes find difficult. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever been trying to do like mindfulness or meditation, and then but you feel like it's like impossible, like it's not working, or it's just you can't do it? Like I feel like there's this general idea with mindfulness that you're supposed to sit still and think nothing, but how do you do that if your body's completely like full of stress hormones? So, plus, I feel like with my brain specifically, and maybe you can relate to this, I don't know, but with my brain, I have like this second track that's always going on. Like there's like the first part of my brain or my mind that's trying to focus on what's at the task that's at hand or whatever's going on in this moment. And then there's the second part that is always spinning in the background, and it's always full of like, I don't know, song lyrics or distracting thoughts, or even really invasive memories. And that's kind of a thing for me where if I am sitting still and trying to like not really think of anything, that leaves a lot of room for me to kind of be overwhelmed with invasive memories, and I will be spiraling out, and I know that part of the point of mindfulness is to practice noticing, and so that you can like redirect your thoughts. However, if I am deep in a trigger, noticing feels like nothing. It doesn't really help, and I've spiraled. So I kind of have this like, I guess I sympathize with people, and it's more than even sympathizing. I understand where people get the resistance to mindfulness. It makes total sense to me. Like, it is a nightmare sometimes to try to practice it. And also, like I said, if you're full of stress and anxiety, the last thing you want to try to do is to just like be still. I guess for me, the way that I kind of approach that, because even if it's hard, I still have anxiety, you know what I mean? Like, I still have to treat that, even if the anxiety is what's making the mindfulness hard. Like, I still have to take care of the anxiety in some way, right? But I had a therapist one time give me this amazing advice, which is essentially you need a collection of approaches. She called it an arsenal. You need an arsenal of coping skills, which is a very American way to frame that, I guess. But the general idea kind of still stands. Like, her point was basically that mindfulness and meditation are umbrella terms for a whole bunch of stuff that you could do, and that it's just sitting still and trying to think nothing. And I find that has like lifted a lot of pressure off of me to like do it right, to do the mindfulness the correct way. Because I don't think there is a correct way. I think that there's actually just a tremendous amount of wiggle room in there that you can use to sort of customize it. And the therapist that gave me this advice was saying you have to customize your approaches to what works for you and what your needs will be. And you have to have a collection of approaches, because one thing that works in one moment won't necessarily work in another moment. But there's also the meditation or the mindfulness you do that is maintenance. This is the stuff you practice when you feel good, so that you kind of build the baseline of calm, the baseline neurology around being able to be relaxed. Because for people like me, I guess with like PTSD, it's very difficult to even physically be capable of entering a relaxation state. And so you do the maintenance mindfulness to help build the like neurological network that allows you to just ever be calm. And what works in those moments is going to be different than what works, say, if you are having an anxiety attack, or if you are deeply triggered, or in some other state of emergency. I'm going to refer to them as emergencies. Also, full disclosure, I've been having just a ton of anxiety this week, and I haven't really been sleeping because of it. So I think some of this is really to kind of remind me, because I'm feeling a bit discouraged this week, and just kind of trying to like do my self-care and keep my chin up and like accept that I am gonna struggle and do my best to meet that. And I think that that's kind of the energy I'm trying to like bring to this. I worry it might sound like I'm being preachy or something, but I feel like today's video is very much about what I need to hear because I am really struggling with some of this stuff. When we talk about mindfulness or meditation as being umbrella terms, what I mean by that is I'm saying that they are umbrella terms for any type of activity that incorporates some or all of these like basic components. And those basic components are to practice noticing and to practice training your attention and your focus. So the traditional stillness meditation that people talk about, where you sit still and you think nothing, is actually not about thinking nothing. It's about noticing your thoughts. It's about choosing something, maybe your breath, to focus on, and then noticing when your thoughts stray from that and bringing your attention back to your thoughts. But the other part of that is to practice non-reaction and non-judgment. So you're noticing your thoughts, but you are not judging them as good or bad. You are just allowing them to be. And then you are practicing non-reaction. And so the non-reaction bit can be very challenging if you're, say, getting triggered in PTSD because you're sitting still and allowing your brain to wander, which then it can wander into like those invasive memories and that horrible stuff. And so, like, that's where you would need to have a much stronger baseline practice of non-reaction and non-judgment before you could maybe tackle some of those, like, more still, I don't know if it's stiller or more still, but whatever, you know what I'm saying. But it's like, you can't really tackle that approach necessarily unless you have the neurology you need. So, anyway, I'm getting off topic a little bit, but the idea is that you practice noticing, you train your attention and your focus, you practice non-reaction and non-judgment, and then you want to also try to practice one-mindedness, which is essentially you are doing just one thing at a time and focusing on each step of that process. So like literally that could be focus on putting the clothes in the washing machine while not worrying about anything else. Or it can mean that you just focus on some other chore. I don't know. But it can also mean that you go for a walk, you know. And for me, the one-mindedness thing is a little bit of a looser rule. I respect the need to practice one-mindedness, but I often need something to keep that second track busy so that it doesn't take off on me. So that's where I add in like music. I'll do the dishes and listen to some music so that I can't spiral, but I can still focus on like one thing at a time mostly. It's like good enough, you know what I mean? Like these things don't have to be perfect. They just have to be good enough to work in the moment, basically. So the advice is you take these core concepts of non-judgment, non-reaction, and practice, and you apply them to all kinds of things. So let me give you some like kind of examples of different ways that this can like look. You can have guided meditations which help you focus on like your breath, or they help you focus on doing a body scan, or they read off affirmations to you. Sometimes some of the guided meditations will also try to teach you a couple simple like psychological principles that you can carry with you, which I think is very helpful. In my family, we do mindfulness every night. We do 20 minutes before bed, and all of us need it. We don't sleep without it. But for us, it takes a lot of forms, depending on our needs. So sometimes we listen to like lo-fi mixes, and then the music makes it a little bit easier to not get lost in the bad thoughts. But like even your favorite album would work for something like this, because it's just about keeping that track busy, and that's going to take you down that path. So other things we like to do is like ambient sounds like rain or thunder. There are one of my favorites right now are cats purring. There are all kinds of like 10-hour videos that you can listen to where it's just a cat purring and like a fire crackling, and I can't believe how amazing that is. Like I'm so excited I found that. It's just genuinely, truly amazing. Another thing we like to do that maybe is kind of non-traditional and you wouldn't necessarily think of it in like normal meditation circles is we like to watch videos of people building like huts. And as far as I can tell, they're like all faked, and it's just people building a bunch of like random structures in the woods that they then abandon. But it's like the same thing where they just go in and they like build the thing, and there's no talking, and you can just spend 20 minutes watching someone build something, and it's fun. We really like them, and we use them a lot. We prefer the ones with no talking in that one as well. And then one thing that I do to try to help myself practice stillness without getting triggered is I tell myself stories. And that makes it so that my mindfulness is a lot of fun. And a lot of my stories are about people who are very close to me, like much like me, who find like community and acceptance, and they're very like escapist. Like there's very little conflict in my stories, but there's a lot of like romanticized settings and times and technologies or whatever. Like a lot of times it's very historical or whatever, and it's just fun to like for me to just tell myself stories about being like accepted and loved and surrounded by community. So that's just something that I really enjoy. And then those usually change every couple of years depending on what I'm inspired by or thinking about. Or sometimes I'll watch a cool movie and that will just set me off. But one of the things I do when I have an emergency type situation is I watch like funny videos. Back several years ago when Vine was still a thing, I kid you not, Vine compilations on YouTube like have saved me multiple times. Just some of the darkest times that I've had, that I have sat like so dissociated and distraught and like beside myself or so deep in a meltdown, and Rambles being goofy. Back when I would have really dark times with PTSD, my son was little, and I wouldn't want to put too much on him emotionally. So to try to keep things light, we would do try not to laugh challenges, and I always lose. But like, no matter how dark my mood is, I cannot win a try not to laugh challenge. I always lose, and I think that that's beautiful, and I love that, and I love that I share that with my son, and that like days are not nearly as dark now for me, but we still go touch base with that. You know, if we're feeling sad because we're thinking about a loved one who's passed, or we just had a bad day, or whatever, we get together and we watch cute cats until it feels better. And that, to me, counts as mindfulness, especially since it helps with those, like, deep, like, emergency situations. I don't know, just no matter how dissociated and raw I am, I cannot win a try not to laugh challenge. And then I always feel better. I personally believe that mindfulness at its core is skill building, and that any skill that you build is going to count, essentially. So like this type of stuff, so like mindfulness can be like going for walks or working out or yoga, and I might do a video later about maybe some of the science behind meditation, so that I can like maybe talk a little bit about how appropriated some of this is, and how it can get really like out there sometimes, and it can make people very justifiably resistant to trying it, because it can be like really, like, I think the phrase is woo woo and culty. So I don't want to talk about that now, but maybe we'll do a video about that later and talk about like how yoga gets appropriated, but is also like just genuinely helpful if you kind of cut through all of the like propaganda noise. But anyway, my point is, you can incorporate movement easily into mindfulness. If stillness is challenging, it's challenging for me. I have like hyperactivity tendencies on top of PTSD. I don't sit still for very long. It's very challenging. So you can incorporate movement, and it can be anything like that, you know what I mean? Anything that makes you feel better and empties your mind and slows your thoughts. I'm trying to go over the whole range. The whole range is, it can be anything from walking in the woods to building something to learning art skills, music skills. It can be cleaning, it can be bathing, it can be baking, it can be working out and doing yoga, any of that stuff. And there's just like a lot of overlap between building skills in general and building mindfulness skills. For example, you make all kinds of mistakes when you learn to play an instrument, and the practice is not just in learning to play the instrument, it's in noticing the mistakes and not reacting to them and trying again. Oops, okay, let's see what happens if I do it this way. Oops, let's try again. Oops, let's try again. That's what mindfulness is. It's just learning to do that and focusing on that process so that the other stuff falls away. And it slows you down. It slows down your thoughts. It slows down or like calms and soothes your nervous system. And it's just like so good. But also, like, when you're doing things like learning to paint or learning to crochet or an instrument, you go into it accepting that you are going to like fail, that you are going to become frustrated, and you are going to become discouraged. So you go into it understanding it won't be perfect, and that you keep trying. And you know you're going to keep trying, because the point of practicing is to practice. And I think that that's something that mindfulness as a concept doesn't get talked, like it's like talked about inaccurately, because we don't focus on the fact that mindfulness is practice, and that you're supposed to go into it like you would any other skill and assume that you're going to screw it up and have a hard time and have bad days with it, and it's going to get frustrating and annoying. And if you're like, I guess, doing it right, you're just still doing it. It as someone who's a big time perfectionist, that's like a very freeing concept. The idea that like I can go into this knowing I'm going to do poorly from time to time, and all I have to do is keep doing it. It's very nice. I think that a lot of times, the process is basically that you notice, you accept, you redirect your attention, and you stick with the process. And that a lot of times that can actually be really fun. Like, it can be frustrating, but if you are having a nice time learning an instrument, it doesn't matter how frustrated you are. It stays fun, right? And I think that that's what mindfulness should be, is like fun. That's my opinion. But I feel like if you're practicing, then over time it gets easier to practice. You are less reactive emotionally, and it's easier to help yourself in emergencies. So I wanted to like end this with like a last little bit of, I guess, advice or whatever, and just say that like if you feel like you like absolutely cannot do mindfulness, it is because you need it. And if you feel like you're doing it and it's not working, it is you probably just need more. There are times when I'm having like a really hard time where I have to spend the whole day helping myself with mindfulness, and I will feel like I know this is not working, but it is. I will go to sleep that night and maybe even just be able to sleep, but then I'll get up the next day and I've had that like emotional reset because I did the work the day before. And so even if I'm not perfectly better, I still feel like at least a bit better. Anyway, let me know in the comments if any of this was like helpful or enlightening or anything like that. Hopefully it was interesting. Please feel free to like and subscribe. I don't really have anything more today, and I feel like this is already pretty long, so I'm just gonna end it here. And I wish you all